So if you wait a long time for something good, it's worth waiting. So let's get started. Very much warm welcome to all of you here in Lisbon at the UN Ocean Conference, but also you that attend on the web-sent live event. This is an event on Ocean Literate Society, youth engagement and intergenerational collaborations. And my name is Lena Ippert. I'm a professor in environmental law and a member of a Center for Sea and Society at the University of Gothenburg in Sweden.
Yes, and my name is Lydia Rishavi. I am a marine science student. I'm 20 years old. I study at the University of Gothenburg, and I'm also an ocean and climate justice activist and a High Seas Youth Ambassador. And we're going to guide you through this event today. The organizers of the event is the Malmö Marine Education Center in collaboration with the University of Gothenburg, with the Swedish Institute for the Marine Environment, as well as the High Seas Alliance, EarthEcho International, and the Global Youth Biodiversity Network.
So this morning I attended the opening session for the UN Ocean Conference, and I heard the General Secretary Guterres talk about the importance of engaging the youth in the issues around transition to a more sustainable relation to oceans. But my question is, how do we do that?
And that's quite precisely the question we're going to try to answer today. So, as many of you might have heard, some of you might even have attended, the past 3 days there has been the Youth and Innovation Forum here in Lisbon in advance of the conference. And that one, there were hundreds of young people from around the world gathering there to discuss their own ideas and solutions for how we can help the crisis in our oceans. And the question now is, well, what happens now? Because now the actual conference is starting. So will youth voices be continued to listen to, or will they disappear now that the actual negotiations and decisions are being made? Because you will hear a lot of the people at each event, in each conference, talk about the importance of protecting the ocean for the future of young generations. But they've been saying that for decades now. And the thing is, we really are not talking about the future anymore. We're talking about the present. The future is now. And young people are here right now and making their voices heard. And so today we'll have the privilege of hearing from some of those young people and what they're doing around the world to make change in their own communities as well as on a global scale for our ocean. And we'll also have a little bit of the other part of the equation, because a lot of our focus on this event is on intergenerational collaboration. So we're going to be looking at how can we empower youth and give them the tools to make a difference and to be an ocean literate generation. So besides youth voices, we'll also be hearing from successful initiatives who are working on ocean literacy and on giving youth the tools to actually engage in ocean conservation and take this fight into their own hands.
Yes, so we have 10 short presentations that are now coming in the coming hour, and then we have a lot of time for mingle and for discussion, and that is actually the point here. We want to
Assistant is
and talk with you. We hope that you will stay, and there will also be some interesting activities that we will present later. But I think time is just to start up with the presentations. And we go to the first one.
Thanks. This one too. Okay, hi. Before anything else begins, I would like to ask you, what are the high seas? So when I often want some quick, broad information of something, I often use Google Images. So if I didn't know what the high seas were, these would have been the results that I've got. Probably some infographics, some photos of the ocean, and a lot of TV series scenes. So now we know what the high seas are, don't we? So briefly, the high seas are all parts of the mass of salt water, in the globe that is not part of territorial sea or internal waters of a state. And more than 50% of our Earth is covered by it. And more than 70% of the oceans in general consist of the high seas. So, who I am. I am Jian Li, and I'm a High Seas Youth Ambassador for the High Seas Alliance, and I am an intern researcher in Citizens Institute of Environmental Studies in South Korea. My current focus is on the Treaty for Biodiversity in areas beyond national jurisdiction, also known as the High Seas Treaty. So the High Seas Youth Ambassador Program provides a platform to empower young people to raise their voices in support of a strong treaty to protect the high seas for future generations. Youth engagement in the protection of the ocean is extremely important and immensely undervalued. And today, I would like to share some of my experience as a youth who wants to change the world altogether. I believe that an important factor of youth engagement is also encouraging youth to get together and make changes collectively. And in order to do so, keeping ourselves educated is essential. With CIES, we have organized and conducted more than 7 youth webinars during the pandemic, including an international webinar with youth from Korea, China, and Japan, and more. And in those webinars, we have had informative sessions and discussion sessions afterwards. We have dealt with subjects such as BBNJ, marine protected areas, UNCLOS, Antarctic protection, and so on. And with the High Seas Alliance, the High Seas Youth Ambassadors engaged by writing blog entries, interviews, driving a High Seas Youth Declaration, and more. The declaration was shared to government officials and stakeholders so that they would listen to what us, the youth, and future generation wants. So why does youth engagement matter? I'd like to tell you a short story about my experience that I had. So when the High Seas Youth Declaration was finalized, I visited the Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries and Ministry of Foreign Affairs in South Korea. And after discussing the matter of why ocean protection is so important, there was one sentence that really got stuck in my head, and now it's kind of motivating me to do what I am doing right now. So they said, now that we hear from youth and know that they are interested and passionate and desperate for ocean protection, we promise to work for ocean protection and we will not let you down. It was a great privilege to be able to meet people who are in the core of the discussion, because we all know that it's very difficult to even have a chance to make voice altogether, although that we want to. But when we constantly engage with these matters and work together, no one will be able to ignore our voices. And I believe that this should be the case in IGC4 as well. Youth voice at IGC5 as well. Youth voice has been absent for so long regarding the High Seas Treaty, and we urgently need a strong legally binding treaty in order to ensure the protection of high seas and youth, and as youth, it is our obligation to continuously and consistently push our governments and stakeholders to listen to us, and together we should strengthen youth networks and activities. But most of all, we must be heard. Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. I'll start with this blue planet. Skip one ocean, one planet. You know, time schedule is short here. I have been working with the ocean quite long, 35 years. I started with research and investigation about the area between Sweden and Denmark. My name is Michael Pangan. I come from Marine Education Center in south of Sweden, Malmö. It's just 20 kilometers to Copenhagen. Our work in marine education started really 1999. So it was a small-scale operation my wife and I started, and it progressed, it growth, and Malmö City told us that we should build a proper house for you. And that house you see here, this is a marine center. It was inaugurated 2017 by the Crown Prince Victoria of Sweden and the Minister of Environment and many more people. It was a really big step for us to be able to work with ocean literacy. Today we have school children from preschool up to university students, roughly around 6,000 students each year in marine program. And this is really important. In waders, in wetsuits, in onboard boats, just discover the ocean. Here starts the ocean literated youth. Since 2020, we are also a national visitor center in Sweden. So we are also teaching, conducting ocean literacy for the public. We have a lot of people coming to our center. But I'm going to talk about 4 different programs that we have worked with ocean literacy and youth. One is the program called Nature Boat. We take 30, 40 school classes out in the ocean in our boat. That's the old museum boat here in Malmö. And they could conduct samples, oxygen samples, salinity sample, visibility, and that research that they have made there is crucial for the municipality. We have measured for over 7 years now in the channels and out in the ocean, and we had a good, what could you say? We now can conduct the harbors areas from 8 to 4 meters and building shallow ground areas with eelgrass. That couldn't be done without this research. And we have Young Ocean Ambassador program that were started together with us and the environmental department in Malmö, and how students in 7, 9 grade could involve in the designing and influencing and collaboration with decision makers in the city. How can, for example, is creating a new future for the Ribbon Beach in the middle of the city? Or how can we end plastic in the city? I'm going to talk about Inner Carnival. Inner Carnival is an innovation competition and about from preschool up to primary school to up to secondary school together with companies and universities. Here we wanted the students to do good innovation for a sustainable future. About 2,000-3,000 students were coming to this innovation carnival, and one of the prizes were just going with the whole class to Hong Kong and meet the environmental department there and the Minister of Environmental and students from Hong Kong, because Inner Carnival is started in Hong Kong. This year, winner is Seaver, Follow the Stream Toward the Dream. They wanted to do a research on plastic. How can we get rid of the plastic in the ocean? And now they come up with a brilliant idea of a solar-driven propeller that pushed all the plastic. So I am out of time, and nevertheless, decisions we make today will benefit future generation. What other options exist? Consult with young people.
Hi, everyone. My name is Frida Gonan. I am a Youth Leadership Council member at EarthEcho International. And I come from the world's largest archipelago, Indonesia, which in terms of coral reef distribution is very easy to spot over in the Coral Triangle region. So as a Youth Leadership Council member, I represent a growing global network of young ocean advocates who are leading change in this space. And we aim to restore and protect our ocean planet. So one of the ways we are doing this is by advancing the 30 by 30 ocean goal, which we call EarthEcho 30 by 30. And we are aiming to mobilize public support in the protection of 30% of the planet, and specifically in the ocean, by 2030, in terms of education, advocacy, and restoration. So today I'll be sharing a little bit about my work with launching 30 by 30 Indonesia last year. And as you can see on the screen, here are some of the over 400 pictures that we collected in support of 30 by 30. And these are pictures collected from people who would like to express their support, not only from Indonesia, but in some parts of Southeast Asia as well. And in terms of education, we have had some ocean literacy events for students from over 10 schools, which were both online and offline in the form of school outreach events and webinars. And we had students from junior school all the way to university. And these were catered to suit their age groups. And talking about the importance of ocean protection and youth involvement, as well as 30 by 30. And in terms of advocacy and policy, we actually got support in the form of a picture. On the top left, that is a picture posted by the Bali's provincial government and on their official website. And the man in the middle is actually holding a sign that says 30 by 30 Indonesia. And one of the most exciting things is our restoration events. And firstly, we had planted coral transplantation, 30 structures in Tulamben in Bali. And this involved children from 2 local villages who were invited to get involved and learn to tie these corals symbolically. And we had a beach cleanup event, and we had a sharing session where we were talking about ocean advocacy as well. And this was really exciting because this is actually part of a new coral garden. And so if you ever visit Bali, please come to Tulamben and you will see this coral transplantation site. And there is the number 30 on the ocean floor. And that is our 30 by 30 coral garden that we are hoping to cover a total area of 1 hectare in the next few years. So the most recent event is actually planting 200 mangroves for World Ocean Day. And we had a group of 15 students from high school, and we learned from the experts in linking the importance of the ocean and mangroves all together. And we got hands-on and decided to plant a total of 200. So some of the key outcomes I have learned as a high school student, I'm 18 years old, is that change can come in different forms. We don't have to stick to mainstream solutions. In fact, we need innovation. And we can do this possibly by creating positive memories. And we need to establish emotional connections and facilitate these opportunities for people to experience the ocean, and whether it be online or directly. So let's reflect on how can we create these opportunities for people, especially young people, to play an active role in our communities. what barriers did you face? Did you face in terms of geographical location, for example, in accessing the ocean, or possibly in terms of finance? So we need to reflect on how we can change this moving forward and involve the young minds in the advancement of our oceans conservation. So you can get involved by looking through EarthEcho's website, and you are invited to attend the virtual EarthEcho Youth Leadership Summit coming up next month. And you can also reach out to me through 30 by 30's social media account. Thank you so much.
Hello, everyone. My name is Chiara Pasoli. I'm a master student at the University of Gothenburg, and
Okay, my name is Cody van Sloot. I'm a part of the Faculty of Art and the Design Department, and my role here is to leave the word to Chiara.
yeah, he's gonna be my supervisor in the next academic year, but we're gonna talk about it in a minute. Now, I wanna ask you, do you know the telephone game? I would usually play with this as a child with my friends, and it's the one where you start with a sentence and then you whisper it to your friend, and the friend does do the same with another friend, and it goes on. And usually at the end of the game, you just end up with something that's completely different from what you started with. And that could be the case when we talk about knowledge without action. So it can get lost in translation. So you can just discover a completely different knowledge than the previous that you had. It can lead to no commitment, and even more in a world where nowadays we need both a local and a global scale commitment and actions. This is it's very needed. And so what I'm gonna talk to you about today, I'm telling you this because with Swemark, which is one of the 6 interdisciplinary research centers at Gothenburg University, I will have a project based on experiential learning, which means to learn by doing experiences and to reflect on these after you've done them. Experiential learning can lead you to develop a critical thinking, which can help with analyzing situation and communicate them in a good way. It leads to the enhancement of systematic thinking, which means when you have an holistic view of a system and the behavior of the same system. And lastly, it is related to how the learner can understand their individual and collective responsibility and the role that they can play. So all of these are the baseline for understanding sustainability. And with Swemark, again, what are we going to do? We're going to implement an aquaponics system because Swemark goal is to increase the sustainability of food production from the ocean, and aquaponic systems could be an answer to this. Also, they could feed Earth's population in a more as Earth population keeps growing throughout the years, and in an inclusive and sustainable way, and both on a small and on a large scale. So the scalability of the project is very easy. It changes a lot. And also the components of the system itself, they can be found pretty easily almost everywhere. So it could be a very interesting, and I do believe that it is a very interesting way to actually feed Earth's population. So this is what we're gonna do, and we're gonna do it through experiential learning. And we're gonna do it in Gothenburg, in Frida Gonan, which is just there on the map, as shown, during the next academic year. So it's going to be a project that's going to last for the whole year. And we're going to implement this system with the help of the pupils in the 8th grade. So they're going to be 14 years old. And the staff of the middle school as well, and the teachers. Moreover, we think that we're going to have an impact as well on the people close to the pupils, such as parents or friends from different schools. So the goal of this project is to empower the youth, actually, by giving them a knowledge transfer, so by giving them the knowledge that we have and receiving the knowledge that they have on our side, hoping for them to become more ocean literate society, which means for understanding the influence that the ocean has upon us and the other way around. And hopefully we're going to see some different. Hello, everyone. My name is Chiara Pasoli. I'm a master student at the University of Gothenburg, and
Okay, my name is Cody van Sloot. I'm a part of the Faculty of Art and the Design Department, and my role here is to leave the word to Chiara.
yeah, he's going to be my supervisor in the next academic year, but we're going to talk about it in a minute. Now, I want to ask you, do you know the telephone game? I would usually play with this as a child with my friends, and it's the one where you start with a sentence and then you whisper it to your friend, and the friend does do the same with another friend, and it goes on. And usually at the end of the game, you just end up with something that's completely different from what you started with. And that could be the case when we talk about knowledge without action. So it can get lost in translation. So you can just discover a completely different knowledge than the previous that you had. It can lead to no commitment, and even more in a world where nowadays we need both a local and a global scale commitment and actions. This is it's very needed. And so what I'm going to talk to you about today, I'm telling you this because with Swemark, which is one of the 6 interdisciplinary research centers at Gothenburg University, I will have a project based on experiential learning, which means to learn by doing experiences and to reflect on these after you've done them. Experiential learning can lead you to develop a critical thinking, which can help with analyzing situation and communicate them in a good way. It leads to the enhancement of systematic thinking, which means when you have an holistic view of a system and the behavior of the same system. And lastly, it is related to how the learner can understand their individual and collective responsibility and the role that they can play. So all of these are the baseline for understanding sustainability. And with Swemark, again, what are we going to do? We're going to implement an aquaponics system because Swemark goal is to increase the sustainability of food production from the ocean, and aquaponic systems could be an answer to this. Also, they could feed Earth's population in a more as Earth population keeps growing throughout the years, and in an inclusive and sustainable way, and both on a small and on a large scale. So the scalability of the project is very easy. It changes a lot. And also the components of the system itself, they can be found pretty easily almost everywhere. So it could be a very interesting, and I do believe that it is a very interesting way to actually feed Earth's population. So this is what we're going to do, and we're going to do it through experiential learning. And we're going to do it in Gothenburg, in Frida Gonan, which is just there on the map, as shown, during the next academic year. So it's going to be a project that's going to last for the whole year. And we're going to implement this system with the help of the pupils in the 8th grade. So they're going to be 14 years old. And the staff of the middle school as well, and the teachers. Moreover, we think that we're going to have an impact as well on the people close to the pupils, such as parents or friends from different schools. So the goal of this project is to empower the youth, actually, by giving them a knowledge transfer, so by giving them the knowledge that we have and receiving the knowledge that they have on our side, hoping for them to become more ocean literate society, which means for understanding the influence that the ocean has upon us and the other way around. And hopefully we're going to see understanding the influence that the ocean has upon us and the other way around. And hopefully we're going to see some differences in the behaviors, as explained before. So lastly, I would want to call for you to act on this. Like, I understand that to have the support of the university within this project, it's very helpful. But I do know that this can be implemented and you can do it as well. So Where can you implement your aquaponics system? Who should you persuade it to make it? And could you collaborate with someone for this project and to have someone else make their own? So please think about this question, and you're gonna find me later at the sea salt making stand over there. Thank you for listening.
Hi, my name is Eva Englund Miller, and I am a law student and environmental activist. I coordinate an organization called Klimatjuristerna, which is Swedish for the climate lawyers. My organization is comprised of law students and newly graduated lawyers with a passion for nature, biodiversity, sustainability, environmental law, and climate justice. What we do is offer free legal counsel to environmental organizations. The idea to start doing this came from the realizations that there are legal methods of environmental protections available, but they are not used as much as they could be due to a lack of legal knowledge in the environmental movement. So we thought, we can be the link of knowledge bridging this gap. We can provide the environmental movement with legal knowledge it needs in order to effectively use the law as a tool for environmental protection. I imagine some of you might be asking yourselves, why us? Why should a group of inexperienced young lawyers counsel the environmental movement when surely there must be other and far more qualified legal competence? And there is. There are a few wonderfully qualified Swedish environmental lawyers working hard for the safety of the ecosystems, both marine and terrestrial. But not enough. And not enough of the environmental movement can afford to hire them. The answer to the question of why us, why should we do this imperative work, hence becomes because we are young. Because many of us are students and because we work for free. We have the knowledge necessary to find answers to the legal questions of environmental organizations, and we have the privilege, resolve, and genuine worry for our planet to do it free of charge. We are one of those examples of youth initiatives that arose from young people looking out across the adult established world and seeing a large hole in what was being done and what wasn't being done. We identified something that really should be done, that the planet and its ecosystems are in desperate need for, but that our economic system, as it is built today, does not allocate resources towards doing. So we set about doing it ourselves. So what have we done then? The largest project of the climate lawyers so far is a human rights-based climate lawsuit against the Swedish state. Since our founding, we have also provided legal aid to tens of environmental organizations, answering questions, writing appeals, and clarifying legal pathways. We are also engaged in advocating for frameworks that are sufficient to protect the remaining biodiversity of the sea. I think that in order for our movement to perhaps be able to serve as an example for other movements, I think it's important to reflect upon what made it possible for us to start and maintain this initiative. First of all, none of our activities would have been possible without the resolve, force of initiative, and hard work that our generation has somehow found in this global crisis of climate emergency and mass extinction. But we also would have been mightily hindered in our work if we hadn't been fortunate enough to be provided with support from institutional frameworks. Apart from the obvious enabling factor of freedom of association and freedom of speech, education is free of charge in Sweden. Our study grants and study loans enabled us to invest our free time in working free of charge for environmental protection. Social institutions play a large role in enabling youth engagement. In order for youth to be able to engage, we must obviously be able to support ourselves and the time we spend engaging. Youth engagement must be valued in the way that grown-up engagement is valued. The economic system must allocate resources to work that actually needs to be done in order to secure a safe, healthy, and just planet for all. Otherwise, that work might not get done. So, I have now identified some factors that I find to be enabling youth engagement. I would like to pass the question over to you. What does people in power, meant broadly, i.e. both political, economic, social, cultural, and academic power, need to provide in order for youth engagement to be enabled, sustainably maintained, and boosted?
Oh, then it went by itself. Okay. Hi, my name is Bethany. I'm a professor of ecotoxicology at the University of Gothenburg in Sweden. I work with plastic pollution and chemical pollution, and I know how much those entities are harming the planet and are harming human health. And this is something that can make you want to freak out, and it can cause anxiety, which is something that we see in some of the youth today. A lot of the news that they're hearing is bad news. So we designed a project at the university called Ocean Blues, which we wanted to use to try to combat eco-anxiety. So in this project, we brought in experts, researchers within 4 of the different regions where oceans are threatened. And I'm sure you know these already, but plastic pollution, chemical pollution, climate change, and loss of biodiversity in the oceans. And these experts helped us to create pedagogical packages that we handed over to our communicator that then has contact with schools around Sweden. So teachers can contact our communicator and she will provide educational programming for their classes. But that's only the first step. So what we're doing here is trying to provide research in the classroom. Our communicator goes out to the classroom and she meets with the students and just sort of gives them an introduction to, okay, here's the problem, here's what we know. And then we don't leave them with that. We try to help them into the next step, leading them into action. And we're trying to help them find agency in what they can do to help combat this feeling of anxiety and not just leave them with the bad news. And in doing that, we're trying to help support the students themselves. So we're not necessarily telling them what to do. We're giving them some ideas and then we're supporting them in their own ideas and their own actions. And some of this is through trying to work with beach cleanups or working with different digital platforms, social media outlets, letter writing, maybe recording music videos, things like this, where they can try to channel their engagement into pushes for change. We also invite them to come to the university for an experience to be a researcher for a day. We have a number of marine stations where they can come and engage with researchers for hands-on experience. And then we try to organize a youth conference where they can come together and meet each other and be inspired by one another's different actions and activities. Oh, these are coming up here now. Okay, the second project that I'm working on is a newer project called the Plastic Experiment, Plastexperimentet in Swedish. And this is a collaborative project between myself at the university, a group called Researcher Friday, where that's run through Vetenskap och Allmänhet. It's an organization that works a lot with science communication to the general public, and a group called Keep Sweden Tidy, or Håll Sverige Rent. And these, the 3 of us, these groups are coming together to run this project called the Plastic Experiment, which is a citizen science project. And here we're also aiming at school children, where we're trying to help them to come into a scientific project and help us produce data about plastic pollution in Sweden. So what we do is invite classes from grade 4 up through high school. This is the map of the pilot experiment that we recently just finished to sort of test our system and our apps and our protocols. And we had a pretty good geographical spread across the country. We have students and classes going out into different environments in Sweden, in beaches and parks and cities. And they're working with identifying different kinds of plastics, the amount of plastics and the kinds of plastics they're finding at different places around the country. We also organize webinars so they can have contact with scientists involved in the project, so they can ask us questions and ask us about our processes. And we have some psychologists also incorporated within the project to help understand whether or not these kinds of activities can help to change attitudes, which can drive behavioral changes in society. So we're asking them pretty simple questions like, do your friends think it's important to pick up litter? Or do you think that it's your duty to throw trash in the proper place? This is some very preliminary data. And what we find, the students in our pilot project collected more than 19,000 different objects. The most commonly found were cigarettes and food packaging materials. We haven't yet analyzed all the data. We're going to try to look at point sources and where we most commonly find plastics, what kinds of environments. And when we interview the students about this project, they say that they can see the relevance of this and they're clearly motivated and they know what the information can be used for. So we're telling the students that the data that they're helping us to collect is being fed also to municipalities and decision makers to help them target plastic pollution in their environments. The students are very engaged in these projects, and they know that their future is at stake. So with that, I'll end and turn over to our next speaker, who is also here via video.
Hello everyone. So today me and Shruti, we're both marine researchers and we're also coordinators of the aquatic working group of Gibion. So we'll be talking to you about the youth engagement part of the side event and what Gibion is doing to engage the youth. So Gibion stands for Global Youth Biodiversity Network, and it is a network of a lot of organizations and individuals who have come together with a common goal of preventing biodiversity loss and for conservation of our biodiversity. And Gibion is the official youth group under the Convention on Biological Diversity. It is also supported by the Secretariat and was established in 2010. And it's been 12 years since Gibion has been actively engaging youth and representing their voices at international platforms. So as you can see, Gibion has its presence all over the world, and all the colored ones indicate the national chapters that are present. So that we have 40 plus national chapters in 172 countries. And every year, Gibion sends a lot of delegates to the SEEB convention to represent youth voices. So these are the priorities that have come up during the national consultations that the country chapters organize. So there are 6 points, and I don't have time to go into all of them, but the 5th point, which is transformative education, has consistently come as one of the main important points for youth, where they strongly feel that education needs to change. So regarding Gibion's activities, as I've kept mentioning, that the national consultations play an important part, where the coordinators of the national chapters and members of Gibion, they work together, talk to the youth and understand what their concerns are with regard to biodiversity conservation. And they also release a position paper, which is then used at these conventions to talk to leaders about what youth want on ground. And with regard to campaigns, what Gibion is doing, started last year, was Stop the Same campaign, where we are calling upon world leaders to stop the same destruction, the same profit-driven society, and the same false promises that we keep hearing, and to actually go and make some changes. And another important outcome is the Youth Manifesto, which Gibion, along with a lot of other organizations, have created, and which you can all go and sign. We'll put the link in the chat. And it calls upon leaders to make changes on ground. And apart from that, we also have workshops, such as the one on transformative education, where we spoke about the need to have a transformative education in place. So I'll then hand it over to Shruti. Thank you. So I think taking on from that, what Gibion is doing in the policy space. So at the negotiations, that is the recent negotiations in Geneva, and also the one that happened last week in Nairobi, Gibion gave interventions as well as conducted side events and workshops that showcased youth voices. And there was also a mural reveal that was done by Gibion team led by Mirna that talked about youth priorities, as you can see below. So some of our recommendations or interventions were to include transformative education in target 16 and 20, as well as retain or ensure inclusive participation for youth under target 21. So that is the one that specifically refers to vulnerable stakeholders, including women and youth. Now this CBD nutshell is a book that's available online in a PDF format, which we can also send a link to. And this talks about the entire CBD process and how Gibion is involved and what are the interventions and how do they make it. So these all the information can be got here. So now with respect to specifically in oceans, we have been closely tracking the negotiations. So the failed negotiations in Geneva on marine and coastal biodiversity, and there are no negotiations in Nairobi as well. So we'll be looking forward to the COP negotiations, which is now set to happen in Canada, which is a COP15. And we have been organizing events and workshops and capacity building. So some of them were specifically relating to oceans, but also they're obviously integrated into the conversations that we have as we do these events. And then we recently had the Gibion Aquatic Working Group that was formed, and we'll look to take forward Gibion's activities through this working group. And if any of you are interested, we do recommend that you contact me or Sudha, and we can include you in those groups, and we can, we'll be looking to include our interventions as well in the ocean and marine space, and as also in the freshwater and the aquatic space. And we also have an event coming up on 1st July that will be on rights-based approach for the UN Ocean Conference. And we'll have diverse set of speakers and stakeholders, and we look forward to having you there. So you can reach out to us, as I mentioned, through gibionocean@gmail.com. and we will be happy to take you into our working group and take this forward. Thank you so much.
Hello. So I'd like to say a few words about Sailing for Science, a Ocean Decade endorsed project. And the philosophy behind Sailing for Science is to contribute to ocean observations by sailboat platforms, raise ocean awareness through citizen science and other activities, contribute to capacity building for developing countries with frugal innovation, simple innovation, observation tools. And then one might ask, is it sailing and research expedition, does that really make sense? Is it practical? And I say, of course. That has been the state of the art for at least 100 years, and then forgotten in favor of motorized research expeditions. Here are some examples of very successful recent trends in low cost and low environmental footprint research expeditions. You're probably aware of the Tara expeditions there. But it can also be done in a more simple and smaller format. We have seen in our research expeditions on regular sailboats that one can do sensible research with modern sensors, profiling or underway, and simple sampling devices like this. And we have also heard from students and volunteers taking place in such expedition that they think it's more fun and more ocean connecting experience than for regular large research vessels. We have also been contacted with citizens that want to have some help, get some help on doing their own citizen science experiments, for example, sampling microplastics or observing the clarity of water or doing some oceanographic measurements. And by doing that, they also get a lot of more interest, so their ocean literacy is increasing, and they become ocean advocates often. And this is one example. We recently engaged in helping the Francesco Farsi, a 25-year-old solo sail racer. He will sail with this mini transat. It's only 6.5 meter sailboats across the Atlantic. But not only racing, he also wants to collect ocean data. But we also hear from people out on the such observation experiments that they, by observing the environment, the beauty, but also maybe the ugly parts, the marine litter, for example, get more of an self-transforming experience and becoming more of an ocean advocates. And some of the citizen science that we have helped have gone much further, and also taking their learned lessons and reflecting and maybe creating zero waste experiments or collecting litter and communicating, engaging their networks and talking about that, spreading the issues. So that's maybe the most important part of it. So if you're in anything interested, just come and see me to contribute or taking part in any of it. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Gath Bandar, and I'm originally from Sri Lanka, and I'm a master's student in Europe. So I'm going to talk about two Sri Lankan NGOs who are working to conserve the ocean. So first of all, I want to apologize because this is not the presentation I was supposed to do today. I recently lost my laptop and the presentation, but this is a presentation that we made earlier. So most of the things that I want to cover today is in this presentation. So EarthLanka is an organization that we launched in 2009 with a group of journalists. And we launched it for news reporting actually for the initially. And we for these activities like impact of global warming, natural disasters, extinction, deforestation, human-elephant conflict, pollution, threats faced by the ecosystems and smuggling, also the issues on marine ecosystems globally. And also in 2010, we established a youth network and registered it in Sri Lanka. So this is the South Asian Youth Summit on Climate Change in 2010. This is the first time we held such summit in Sri Lanka. And these are some photos of the local exhibitions that we want to promote the biodiversity and the conservation. So also we are working with other organizations like Global Youth Biodiversity Network and also with the Yango Association. So in 2015, we did this Action 2015, which was a global movement to end poverty, inequalities, and the climate change. And in 2014, we launched another project called Poseidon Army. So in this project, what we do is we collaborate with the youth in all over the country, and we do beach cleanups and also the coral reef plantation projects, shallow water cleanups, and everything. And this is also the first ever youth-based project continuing in the country, and still we are continuing this project. Also, as part of our program, we give grants to the university students to get the diving certificate. So now we have over 200 students, the university students who got the diving license from us. And what we do is we are working with these youths, and we are doing some shallow water cleanups, and also we are removing the ghost nets from our environment. Also, we do some awareness programs for school children and also for the universities, and also we are targeting the fishermen. And this is a side event on coastal and marine for the UN CBD. Also, now we are doing some these activities. So one is the empowering youth for the coastal and marine conservation. And also in Sri Lanka, we have free education, like it's available for everyone. So, but the education, it's actually the curriculum, it lacks ocean education. So now we are talking with ministers and other relevant parties to add the some part of ocean education for the school curriculum. And also we are doing, as I said earlier, awareness programs on SDG 14 and also for the marine conservation. We also do coral restoration programs, and recently we started marine research, doing some marine research, and we started with some shark projects. Now we also doing some pollution research and also about some research about underwater noise. And yeah, also we are removing marine debris from inland water and also from the marine shallow water. And one thing I want to mention is we are now focusing on aquaculture, because most of Sri Lankan fishermen, they're actually artisanal fishermen, and they don't like to change, even though we introduce them new techniques to improve their catch. Like Sri Lankan fishermen, they always think about the quantity over quality. So it's very hard to like change their perspectives. So what we do is we are giving them alternative options like aquaculture. Like recently we have introduced seaweed aquaculture for them. Likewise, and so then they can shift from the fisheries to the aquaculture. And also now we are focusing on marine ornamental fish aquaculture, because culturing these marine ornamental fish, because 99.99% of all the marine ornamental fish trade comes from the wild catch. So now we are trying to introduce some techniques, and we are doing some research about marine ornamental fish culture. Also, apart from this organization, I also want to speak about Young Suludis Association. So it's another association that based on Sri Lanka, we are actually based in the National Zoological Gardens in Sri Lanka. So what we do is we educate young people. Our theme is conservation through education. And we every Sundays we organize some camps in the inside the zoological gardens, and we have several teams like aquatic team, butterfly team, birds team likewise. So each teams they are giving lectures about and some practical things about the nature and also about the animals in general. Also, we are conducting some monthly lectures online for the public because most of students and youth, they can't reach the capital, Colombo, to come to the Sunday lectures. Yeah, that's it, and thank you very much.
I will try to make this presentation very short. I have one slide, so be with me. So my name is Kajsa Tönnesson. I work at the Swedish Institute for the Marine Environment, and we are coordinating the Swedish Network for Ocean Literacy from source to sea. We are actually two networks working together. We have one network working with the freshwater and one network working with the marine water. And we are coordinating the marine network. 2 seconds. So the network is an informal association, and everyone working with ocean literacy is welcome to join the network. In the network, we have people from universities, we have teachers, we have students, we have youth, we have science centers, we have aquariums. We also have some seniors, we have people from agencies and also from the government that's part of this network. So it's important to work together. And the purpose with the network is actually to inspire each other, to work together, to share experiments, good examples at local, national and international level. The network is financed by the Swedish Agency for Marine and Water Management. And I will be here this afternoon. So if you would like to come to talk to me, I will be further down in the room. And you joining online, you're most welcome to send me an email to me or to one of my colleagues to join the network and to hear more. And we are happy, I will soon end, and we are happy to join other networks, international or national networks. So thank you for me.
So a huge thank you to all of our speakers. You might give them another collective round of applause. I think we have so much knowledge and engagement in this room, and there's so much we can learn from each other. So I wanted to ask you in the room, please raise your hands, who learned something new today or got some new ideas? Pretty much everyone, that's great to hear. So my next question would be, who of you is ready to turn those ideas into action? Great, wonderful.
So you will have a perfect opportunity to do that right now and right here. We will end here and we will have a type of mini fair. There will be some activities in the back. You maybe are curious why we have some algae, and there is also pencils and papers and things. We'll come to that just in a while. But I think I also want to thank all the presenters inspiring us. I think we really need that. And I'm humble in a way that even if we are from an academic organization, you see how much knowledge and experience that we could share. So you're most welcome now to stay and mingle with us and share your expertise, your experiences, and link up with each other.
Yes, so all of the speakers will be at the back of the room, so you're most welcome to ask questions. If you have any questions to the speakers who only joined us via video message, then you can talk to me and I can ask them. And also in this corner over there, you'll be able to make your own algae salt if you want to. And in the other corner, on Wednesday evening, there will be a large blue climate march in order to push governments at this conference. And because we need people to join, you can actually make your own demonstration sign in this corner. And other than that, please talk to each other. Please talk to our speakers, because this is really where the action is happening.
Yes, and I also want to thank all organizers and again, presenters behind this. And thanks, Lydia, for letting me be your sidekick.